Today I'm going to show you how to make my dad's mac and cheese. A jalapeno mac and cheese. When I was growing up, whenever my mum would go out of town, the only thing my dad would remember to make is mac and cheese, and then we'd have a TV dinner, which I was never allowed to do. So this is extremely nostalgic for me. First, I'm adding in a generous amount of butter. If we're going to make mac and cheese, we have to make it right. Once the butter's melted, you're going to slowly sprinkle in your flour. You're going to make a roux and then gently whisk it together. Cook that for a couple of minutes just to let the flour actually cook into the butter. Keep stirring so there aren't any clumps. Adding in the milk. Let this simmer for a couple of minutes just till it starts to thicken. While that's on simmer, you can add in your spices. I add in some paprika. It gives a really beautiful color. Some nutritional yeast for that cheesy flavor. Some English mustard. You can use Dijon if you don't have English, but English is always better. I add in a little bit of asafoetida, but you can use garlic powder. Asafoetida is my garlic replacement. It's better for your gut and still has a very strong pungent flavor. Bit of salt, bit of pepper. You can see it's starting to thicken up. This is probably about 5 minutes in. Because we're going to be baking this macaroni, I don't like making the sauce too thick because once you end up putting the pasta in and then you put it into the oven, it thickens up a lot more, and I like my pasta being a bit more saucy. I'm going to add in a generous amount of pickled jalapenos, and then comes the cheese. You're going to pour in the cheese. Let the cheese melt into the sauce, and then it will pretty much be done. Look at the texture and the consistency of this sauce. It is absolutely perfect, if I say so myself. Oh my gosh. Yes. That's amazing. For the topping, traditionally this is what my dad did. He would put on thin slices of tomatoes. I love the balance of tomato with the creaminess. They both combine really well. So usually I do it in this order: cheese, tomato, and then breadcrumbs, and then top it off with some dried herbs like parsley. And then to top it off so that the breadcrumbs don't burn, I add on a little bit of chili oil. So if you happen to have some mac and cheese left over, this is what I like to do with it. We're gonna make some mac and cheese bites. I put my mac and cheese into a pan and I put it in the fridge for a couple of hours. Then we're gonna chop them up into cubes, dip them in a batter, dip them in some panko, and then pop them in the oven. I may or may not be doing this for the first time, so let's see if it actually works. I haven't given quantities for this recipe because it really depends on how much mac and cheese you have left over, but you can always just double the batter or add a few more breadcrumbs in there. So for the batter, I've got plain flour, cornstarch, salt, and parsley. And then I'm gonna add in some milk to make the batter. Make sure you whisk it up really well because you don't want lumps of flour left in here. I'm just gonna add in a little bit of paprika for color. Taking the piece of macaroni, coating it in the batter, and then coating it in the breadcrumbs. Amazing. A trick to this is you keep one hand that gets wet in the batter and then one hand that stays dry for the panko. So you have a few options with this. You can air fry them, oven bake them, deep fry them, or shallow fry them on a pan. I'm gonna do the air fry option, but I'm gonna actually spray a fair amount of oil on them to make sure that they're able to cook perfectly. And off they go to the air fryer. Look at that. Looks amazing. Let's cut into it. Oh my gosh. This looks amazing. I'm so excited to try this and for you all to try this at home to make your mac and cheese just a little bit more exciting. But before we eat, take a second. This is the month of Thanksgiving and giving thanks. And so I always like to say a little prayer of thanks before we end up eating whatever it is throughout the day. And so it can be a little moment of presence for you before your meal. So just to be really grateful for every single person, every single thing, the universe for bringing all the ingredients we need to make this incredible dish. Let's try it. So delicious. The jalapenos add a really great kick and it gives a nice pickled flavor. It's so cheesy and creamy. And the breadcrumbs on the top give it a really nice crunch. Let me know if you tried this recipe. I would love to see all the pictures of when you make it. And wait, we need to try the bites. Let's give them a go. I think they're just done. They're ready. Oh, they actually turned out pretty good. Crispy on the outside. Let's see what they're like on the inside. Mmm. Such a fun way to turn a leftover into something really fun the next day. Yum. I definitely make these again. Oh, I messed that up, didn't I? Now I've got 2 wet hands. Perfect.
Looks so good.
Amazing. Looks amazing.
I killed it.